Alright, Karen, so this is a quick review of your hang power clean to front squat for today. And oh Karen, no, I'm just kidding. No, you actually did really well. So let's go over this real quick. So first of all, I'd like to point out your starting position is actually the best of the three for sure. Both the guys, and this is pretty typical, I wanted them pushing their knees back a little bit. So your knees aren't locked, but they're straighter, and what that does is it loads up those hamstrings, right? So your hamstrings are a little bit tighter, so they're basically like a stretched rubber band at this point. So they've got tension on them and they're ready to go. So you've got a good starting position. Chest is up and out, elbows are locked, looking good. Neutral gaze. See that little smile on your face because you know you're being videotaped, and you're like, stop videotaping me, but whatever. Okay, so let's start moving through it. Okay, so you'll notice one thing that happens here. As soon as you start to pull, which direction is that bar moving? Right, so bar starts moving in basically in this direction. Right, what we really want is we want to pull that bar into the hip. Okay, I didn't go over that in detail today, but I'll just mention it now, only because rather than a nice vertical movement of the bar, wow, that's weird that arrow did that. Instead of a vertical movement of the bar, you actually have it moving out in that direction, and we don't want that. We want to keep that bar in close to our bodies. Okay, so the bar starts moving away. The other thing I'd like to point out at this point is right before we hit extension. So notice here, hips are still closed, but notice the arm. Oops, let me switch over to this. Notice the arm has a bend in it. Okay, don't want to have those bent elbows. Remember, we want to explode with the hips. We want those hips fully extended before the elbows start to bend. And remember, the only reason we bend the elbows in the clean is to pull ourselves under the bar. But we don't want to start pulling ourselves under the bar until we've extended the hips and put our maximum power into the bar. Okay, so little early elbow bend. Now, one thing I'd like to point out here, you are the only one that got full, true hip extension, right? So you can see your hips are completely open right there, and in fact, actually overshoot it a little bit. So not bad though. That's good. That's actually a really good thing to get those hips fully open. But what I'm not seeing is right here, see how your feet are still flat. So remember, triple extension is extension of the hip, extension of the knee, which you've got, but you want extension of the ankle, which you don't have. And so what that tells me is that you're not exploding those hips open, you're not jumping, right? You're opening the hips, you're opening the knees, but you're not coming up with enough force to actually extend up onto the balls of your feet. So that triple extension is all three. So so not bad. Okay, so hips are open, and that's okay. That's okay. In fact, you'll see elite lifters in almost exactly this position. But what will happen, and what doesn't happen for you, but what they will do is they will start to push the hips back rapidly at this point. Okay, that's when those hips reclose and they go to receive the bar. So let's see what happens here. Hips are staying forward until right about there. By this time, that bar should, your elbows should already be, up and around, and the hip should be back in that direction. Okay, so you push the hips back a little bit, but not back far enough, and what that translates into is you're going to see weight on the toes a little bit, or up on the balls of the feet. So when the hips go back, all of your weight's going to shift back, and you're going to feel the weight in the heels, and that's what we want. Okay, we want that powerful front squat stance is weight in the heels, right? Remember the three things that I mentioned: weight on the heels, elbows up, and knees out. Okay, so and speaking of elbows up, definitely have the elbows a little low. What I'd really like to see those elbows in that plane, right? And that's going to keep that bar resting nicely, up on the shoulders, which is where we want the weight of the bar, not in the hands. So look at your wrists there. Now imagine you had 150 pounds in your hands and the bar was not resting on the shoulders. Those poor little wrists are going to take just a beating, right? Okay, so those are a couple little subtle points. Now we start to drop down. Not actually too bad here. Of course, I mean, for reasons that we both know about, hitting depth, hitting this slightly below parallel position is something that's going to be a challenge for you. But I always want you fighting for it. So again, the way to hit that effectively is to get that weight back. get that weight back on the heels, and then pick those elbows up. So elbows should be up a little higher, and that's going to help you hit that position that I really, really want you to try to hit. Okay? And then as we stand up, everything looks pretty good. So overall, pretty decent. All three of you guys did really well today, and so this is just nitpicking. I wanted to give you some things to think about post process, and if I were gonna really hammer anything home for you, it would be basically 3 points. Weight on the heels. Always be trying to keep that weight on the heels, right? Triple extension. Try to come up a little bit more powerfully. So I like how you're getting your hips and your knees open, but get those ankles open as well. So explode up with a little bit more power. So weight on the heels, triple extension, and then elbows up. That would be, if you could get those three things, you'd make huge gains in this movement. And I'm not even going to worry about depth right now. We're just going to worry about posture.